Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Hey, look who's back. My voice. Yeah. Welcome to Tuesday, at least so far. We'll see if it lasts the hour. Larry Smith here, along with producer Tony and editor Josh. Glad to have you here with us here on this Tuesday, getting ready for, a couple of days sort of without basketball, sort of. All NCAA is done, men's and women's, for the first weekend. We're getting into that here at the start of the show. Hey, listen, great guest coming up. David Cobb of CBS Sports has been a frequent guest. I love having him on and getting his insights. He's, of course, again, CBSSports.com. He's been super busy, but he's going to carve out a few minutes for us here today to talk about this tournament so far and some really great matchups to look forward to in the Sweet 16. He's joining us, standing by here in about 3 minutes. And then Matt Stevens of Illini Guys coming on to talk about Illinois. They're that team that, boy, started off strong. I think they had like a 20-3 start to the season, got into Big Ten play, which obviously 6 teams in the Sweet 16. So what a juggernaut that league was this year, kind of like the SEC was last year. He's going to come on top of this Illinois team, taking on a Houston team that's the 2 seed. But all of a sudden, a lot of people around the country kind of feel like that Illinois and that offense against the Houston defense, maybe that Houston-Illinois matchup, maybe the matchup, the marquee matchup of the Sweet 16. So we got Matt talking about that as well. Hey, we mentioned last week the Dirty Dozen. And for those of you who missed it, the Dirty Dozen's in its 15th year. Long story. It's a matrix I've concocted over years of research, and it will carve out the 12 teams out of the top 24 seeded teams, top 6 seed lines, that will not win the NCAA championship. Well, 1 week in, 6 teams are down, 6 are still left. UConn, Purdue, Illinois, Michigan State, Alabama, and Nebraska. According to the matrix, those 6 teams out of the top 6 lines will not win the NCAA championship. You ask yourself very quickly, Larry, why not just tell me the 12 teams that will win the NCAA championship? Great question. And here's an even better answer. Because once in a while, the winner comes outside those top 6 seed lines. 2014 UConn was the 7th seed. Only happened once. But the point of this is to cut through all the chatter of all the experts on cable and on the internet and whatever. Strictly a numbers-based game. So if you weren't here for that and you pick some of those teams in your bracket, I'm sorry. It has missed once, UConn in 2023. So it will miss. One time in 14 years it's missed. So anyway, that's the update for those teams. Okay, let's get quickly to some notes right now. The college coaching carousel has begun. We discussed yesterday Jerry McNamara going back home to Syracuse. We mentioned also Creighton getting a new coach. Their coach in waiting, Alan Huss, taking over for the retiring Greg McDermott. How about Arizona State having Mesa native Randy Bennett, after 25 years at St. Mary's, 12 NCAA appearances, the 63-year-old, amazing what he has done there with the Gales. 20-plus win seasons in 18 of 19 years. His associate head coach, Mickey McConnell, also promoted to take that job. Utah State has become the place where you poach coaches lately. Just this decade, Craig Smith to Utah, Ryan Odom to Virginia, Danny Sprinkle to Washington after only 1 year, and now Jared Calhoun after just 2 years. All 4 of these coaches leaving Utah State this decade. Calhoun going to Cincinnati. He went 55-15 in 2 years. 44-year-old, 7 years at Youngstown State before that, so he goes back to Ohio. Good for him. Calhoun replaces Wes Miller. He went back to Carolina. He's a new head coach at Charlotte after he was forced out by Cincinnati. No NCAA trips in 5 years. Bearcats said that's not happening. He was at UNC Greensboro, for several years before he went to up to UC. Also, he did win an NCAA title as a player with North Carolina back in 2005. Now, another school that has lost a ton of coaches over the past 2 decades, VCU, Anthony Calhoun, Shaka Smart, Will Wade, Mike Rhodes went to Penn State. Ryan Odom was there before he went to Virginia, left Utah State to go to VCU. But no for Phil Martelli Jr. Only 1 year there on campus in Richmond, 28-8. They signed to a 2-year extension, and so he is now signed through 2032. Of course, he upset North Carolina in round 1 before losing to Illinois over the weekend, taking the Rams their first NCAA trip since 2016. There's a lot of buzz in Kentucky and around the country about Mark Pope being out as the UK coach. But he had a comment. He said, winning a game in back-to-back NCAAs would be great for most fan bases, but at Kentucky, The uniqueness is the way he put it of Kentucky. That's not the answer. Well, here's the thing. Pope reached the Sweet 16 in year one. This is year two, something John Calipari hadn't done in Lexington since 2018. So lay off the guy. One other news now as we get ready for the Sweet 16, Iowa State's All-American Joshua Jefferson hopes he can play against Tennessee Friday in Chicago. He suffered that awkward ankle injury early in the win over Tennessee State in round one, did not play against Kentucky. Cyclones against Tennessee. That is coming up again. One of the multiple injury sessions daily is what he's undergoing to try to get ready for the Volunteers. Man, we were teasing him before. He has been so busy, super busy with all his work with CBS Sports, but carved out a few minutes to talk with us. David Cobb, the great writer for CBS Sports. David, good to talk to you. Hey, let's jump right into this. We were talking before the show about the process this year and how you guys kind of had a different approach. And I'm reading your stuff every single day. I mean, you really were working hard these past 6 weeks.
Yeah, the bracketology project at CBS Sports this year was different. It was exciting. It was a blast to be a part of. It was also challenging. So we had our sports line team, which does data models. They were the brains behind the operation, and I kind of worked with them on a certain level to make sure we were looking at the right data for our bracketology. We came out right in the middle of the bracket matrix. Not bad for first year doing it this way. And we got all 68 teams right, which a lot of people did. We got the 4 1 seeds right, which a lot of people did. We did end up getting the 4 2 seeds right. So that was, there were definitely a lot of fun, new, challenging twists to my February with being a part of that. But the beautiful thing is, it's so intense leading up to Selection Sunday. Then you get the real bracket, and nobody cares about bracketology anymore. And that March always delivers. I had a qualm. I had an issue on Vanderbilt. They should not have been a 5. They got mistreated there. And I think if they're a 3, they're in the Sweet 16 here today, right? So that's one that you can linger on a little bit if you want to. Vanderbilt had no business being a 5. They really shouldn't have even been a 4. That was my biggest gripe, but overall, I think the selection committee did a good job, and that's part of why we see fewer seed upsets now, because the teams are being seeded properly with the right criteria, and therefore, what that leads to is the team with the better number winning more often than not. 10, 15 years ago, if they were looking at the RPI or just looking at win-loss record more so than the actual metrics. Well, if you're just looking at win-loss and you see teams according to that, and you're not factoring in strength of schedule properly, then you're going to get into situations where, oh my gosh, an 11 beat a 6, a 12 beat a 5, a 13 beat a 4, or whatever the situation may be. But now we're seeing teams seeded with really metrics-based criteria. And I think what that leads to, in addition to all these other factors with NIL and the portal and whatever else you want to point to, I think the improvement of the selection and seeding and bracketing process has created conditions where we don't get as many of those double-digit seed sort of upsets. And so from that standpoint, I think the committee's done a pretty good job here the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because so many people are talking about the impact of the transfer portal and NIL, and there's no question that has impacted the way these games have gone, just the way business is now done in college sports, and even especially college basketball. But that's a great point. I remember a few years ago when Northern Iowa beat Kansas in round 2 as a 9 seed. And I remember going through that was one I didn't pick in my bracket, but that was one that I circled because I'm like, well, UNI is a 16 RPI, but they're a 9 seed. So that's not really, Loyola beating Illinois was one where Loyola should have been a 5 and not an 8, and they beat the number 1 seed Illinois. So it's, that's happened over the years too. And you're right. But when you look now, if you go back, if anyone has a free moment, and you do until Thursday, go Google college RPI and compare that list to the net list. And it's very different. And you can kind of see, goes into some of the matrix that you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. And now you've got the wins above bubble, which has become so prominent. And, thankfully, once the tournament starts, it's all out the window, and you got to lace them up and go win the game in between the lines. But actually, the thing that WAB, or wins above bubble, does well is it rewards you for who you beat. And it's not necessarily just about, your Ken Pom efficiency and did you beat up on a bunch of sub 300 teams in the net during November, right? The wins above bubble, you get a specific reward for beating a team, and it depends on where you beat them. And if, let's say, you schedule a terrible team and you lose to them at home, you get clobbered in wins above bubble. That's why TCU ended up being a 9 seed, because they lost at home to New Orleans on opening night, and that killed them in that metric. And so, it's I know we all get kind of sick of the alphabet soup sometimes in college basketball, but boy, I tell you what, the college basketball seeding and selection process, it's a lot better than the college football playoff selection process, where it is subjective, it is eye test, it is arbitrary, and it is in some way influenced by, I think, the way they think the public will perceive their work. Whereas the basketball selection committee, yeah, they have a lot of metrics, and they've all, Ken Pom and Torvik and Ned and Wob and right. And I know on some level that can be overwhelming, but I think they're doing a good job of combining quality, combining resume, and coming up with a really reasonable outcome for where these teams should be seated. Not to say, again, that they're doing it perfectly. You can have your gripes with St. John's is another one. St. John's obviously could have been seated better than they were after winning the Big East regular season and tournament titles. I understand why the committee seated them where they did, though. They had a very low volume of quad 1 wins relative to the other teams in their region. Vanderbilt's another one, of course, but all in all, like, I think the metrics being a guide is really something that's helping the selection process and the bracket construction.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you, and I think that resulted in the play that we saw in these this first week of action. Obviously, there's always going to be upsets and et cetera, but the games were thrilling. Even some of the lopsided, the powers against the lower teams. I mean, in the end, it might have been a 30-point game, but boy, it was a 8-point game at the 12-minute mark or whatever. So I mean, we saw some of that, and I think the weekend games were really must see. My wife and I sat down to watch a few games and wound up, we just flipped to the next one. And then that's a great game coming down in the chess matchup. And so it's been outstanding. We now have the Sweet 16 coming up. I know a couple of games that I want to watch. What are a couple of games that you're especially looking forward to?
They're going to be so good. And that's the upside of a chalky first weekend. Like, I love Cinderella. I wish Cinderella had a better presence in the Sweet 16, but the upshot is, hey, look at some of these matchups that we get. I think Illinois-Houston, just the Houston defense versus that multifaceted Illinois offense. What a great matchup there in Houston too. So big disadvantage for Illinois having to play in Houston's home city, but it guarantees it's going to be an electric environment. Not to mention the game preceding that, Nebraska and Iowa, an old Big Ten West football matchup on the hardwood, two success-starved programs. And it's like, man, they might have to move this thing over to NRG Stadium in Houston to contain it. I mean, you're going to have, just an overwhelming amount of Houston fans trying to get in. And then you've got Nebraska, which has never been this far. Then you have Iowa, which hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since 1999. These fan bases travel incredibly well. And then, by the way, Illinois, who, pretty proud basketball program with a really nice fan base as well. So that the intensity, the passion, the intrigue of that region from a storylines perspective is really good. You can look at the East region with Duke and St. John's and UConn and Michigan State, and that's sort of your royalty region, your traditional brands and your big name coaches. And there's a lot there as well. But I love that South region in Houston with Illinois, Houston, Iowa, Nebraska. That one's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Especially, it was funny that you could just see all the comments on social media, texts that I was getting from people as soon as Figueres hits that shot for Iowa to take down Florida. The Gators had made such a big comeback, and it was like, oh, they're going to pull this out. They're going to find a way to advance. All of a sudden, that region, because it's the one where the 1 seed did go down, now the whole conversation changes. It's no longer, well, probably Florida, Houston. It's like, wait a minute, Iowa or Nebraska is going to be in the Elite Eight? Like,
I know.
How did that work? That's why March is mad.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it though. So I was in Memphis a couple of years back when Nebraska played Texas A&M in the first round. I was blown away by the Nebraska fan support. Just had no idea they were on that level for basketball. Obviously knew what that program is all about on the football side, but just didn't realize like the extent to which there is fervor for basketball there. And it's So it's going to be wild. I mean, Iowa, even though they're a 9 seed, they have the ability, as they showed against Florida, to keep moving in this thing. And so, we don't have Cinderella, but we have a version of it with Nebraska and Iowa. Look, they have Big Ten money. They've invested in basketball. They've made big time hires with Fred Hoiberg and Ben McCollum. But at the same time, when you're talking about, it's been over a quarter century since Iowa's been this far. Nebraska had never won an NCAA tournament game before last week. When you get those two teams playing in the Sweet 16, like, yeah, sure, it's not like St. Peter's versus Fairleigh Dickinson or something, but it is special because these programs live in different worlds from a basketball history perspective than your Dukes and your Michigan States. And so to see them here, and as you mentioned, one of them's going on to the Elite Eight, guaranteed. It is special, and I think it adds that element or that flavor of the unexpected to this NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and we're talking with Tom Kakert of Hawkeye Report here later on this week. He had some great video where he was right there courtside at his media seat. It has some great video of the Fulgaris shot, the 3-pointer. I mean, he was like, he was all basically on the sideline. I mean, he couldn't be any closer to it. But he told us a year ago when they got rid of Fran McCaffrey, that the support for Iowa men's basketball had dwindled. There's only so much discretionary spending. And the women sell out their games at Carver Hawkeye Arena, but the men get about 5,000 a night. Well, that's changed with McCollum coming in, the team winning again, 20 wins. And you're right, they're going to travel. And with Nebraska, it's insane. They put 92,000 in the football stadium for volleyball. I mean, they are fervent Big Red through and through.
Yeah, no doubt. So the Iowa thing is interesting because who would have thought the men would outlast the women?
Right.
The women got eliminated in the second round, somewhat surprisingly. And here the number 9 seed men are having dethroned the reigning national champions. And it's a testament to Ben McCollum's coaching wherewithal that for a program that's probably at best mid-tier in the conference in terms of NIL, look, because he brought these dudes with him from Drake. Some of them came from Northwest Missouri State with him originally. Fulgaris came from Robert Morris, like a good pickup, like a good transfer pickup. But he wasn't some like Yaxel Lindeborg level acquisition in terms of what they had to spend on him. And he's hitting a game-winning shot in the second round to beat Florida, right? So you just see the team building and the ability to construct and execute a game plan for Iowa. Florida is such a hassle to deal with in terms of their bigs, the way they rebound, and Ben McCollum, without a team that's statistically even really profiled as a great rebounding team, they went toe-to-toe with Florida. They didn't get killed on the boards like most teams do against that team. Bennett Sturts didn't even have a good game. He's their best player offensively and couldn't hit a shot to save his life from beyond the arc, and yet somehow that team finds a way to beat a really high-quality number 1 seed. So incredible job there. And then with Nebraska, it's just like the patience, the ability for Fred Hoiberg to, over time, slowly build a program. I mean, they won 7 games his first year, 7 games his second year, and the administration gave him patience and leeway. And I think in some level, both these situations illustrate the allure of going to a program that's not going to demand immediate success. Because, Iowa, the expectation was probably hey, reach the NCAA tournament or get close in year 1. But at Nebraska, when Fred Hoiberg started there were no expectations. Yeah. And I think if you're Ben McCollum and in a theoretical world, you're choosing last year between Iowa and Indiana and whatever else. I don't know exactly what all the options were and what the timing was, but on some level, you're surprised that he went to Iowa if Indiana was really an option as well. But you see it now. It's Indiana, the expectations are so high and so great, and the standard is so high that, okay, well, maybe I could go to a similarly resourced program that's more in my geographical comfort zone, and they're not going to have the crazy expectations. I can under-promise and over-deliver there. Right. And that's absolutely what he's doing.
Yeah, you can't do that in Indiana, no question. I've got about 45 seconds left here before I know I got to let you go. Next week, we'll all be looking at Indianapolis. We'll have the 4 teams vying for the championship still alive. Look into your crystal ball. Who do you have going to Indy after this week?
Well, my national champion all along has been Arizona, and I've seen nothing to move me off of that case. So I'm going with the Wildcats to win it all. I do have Michigan State going to the Final Four from the East, getting past Duke in an Elite Eight game if Duke is even able to get past St. John's in the Sweet 16, right? So we didn't even really get into how wonderful of a set of matchups it is that we have there. And then from the South, I'm going Houston. I mean, the home court advantage, especially now that Florida has been eliminated, is pretty striking. Wouldn't be shocked if Illinois does it, but Houston is that home court advantage factor. It's very, very real. Yeah. And then you go to the bottom right quadrant of the bracket. I think I'm reluctantly going to go Michigan just because of the health concerns around Joshua Jefferson at Iowa State and then Nate Ament with Tennessee. So that's my Final Four, and I got Arizona winning it all.
Yeah. I had Arizona over Florida in a rematch of the game in Vegas in November, so my bracket's busted. But that's okay. I will take that, and if you give me the drama, I'll take a busted bracket. It's worth the price. David, always great. I know you're super busy. Really appreciate your time. Always good to talk with you, man. Enjoy these games.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much. David Cobb joining us once again, CBS Sports. A great insight on how they set things up and how they now we get to look forward here to the Sweet 16. And he's right, man. Just so many great games. And that's what Madness of March is all about. David, we appreciate your time. Okay, much more to come here on the Sports IQ.
Those old golf clubs sitting in your garage right now, there's a good chance they're worth real money. That driver you replaced, those irons you upgraded, even that putter collecting dust. Golf Roots lets you trade them in for cash or credit toward your next set. And right now, Sports IQ listeners get exclusive offers. Take $20 off any order over $100 with code SIQSALE, or get a 15% bonus on your trade-in value with code SIQTRADEIN. That means the clubs in your garage could be worth even more. Golf Roots is on a mission to make golf more accessible, offering high-quality, pre-owned name brand clubs for every skill level. And if you're just starting out, the Just the Roots starter set is one of the most affordable ways to begin, with full trade-in credit when you're ready to upgrade. So don't let your old gear sit there losing value. Go to golfroots.com and see how you can start or upgrade your golf journey today. Use code SIQSALE for $20 off or SIQ trade-in for 15% extra when you trade in your old clubs. That's golfroots.com. Golf Roots. Upgrade smarter.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Glad you're with us on radio or podcast. You can also find us on YouTube. Just go to Sports IQ LS. We've got lots of good stuff for you right there. Website coming soon. We're working on it, kind of putting things together, taking the time, making sure it's right. That's on the way as well, Sports IQ LS. We will get all that stuff to you. Hey, the voice is holding out, so we keep going. The women's Sweet 16 is now set. Now, this decade, only 10 teams coming into this year's tournament, seeded 6th or higher, have reached the Sweet 16. Remember, they pick 16 sub-regionals, 16 pods, and they host the games on home courts and home arenas. And that means if you are one of the top 4 seeds, bully for you. Everyone else has to come to you to play. And so you have a great advantage, which is another reason why we don't see many upsets and the same teams win year after year. It's just kind of the way it is right now. And it's an attendance thing. The men did it up until 1985. There's a reason for that. We'll discuss another time. But anyway, to the women, we now have 2 more you can add to the list. 10 seed Virginia, shocking Iowa, the 2 seed in Iowa City, 83-75 in double overtime. They reached they're the first 4 team in the Sweet 16 since they began that process. How cool is that? We've already seen, again, neutral site to start with, all the way through. We saw VCU become a first 4 team, reach the Final Four. So they're the first to get into the Sweet 16. Great for the Wahoos. Meanwhile, Notre Dame, the 6th seed, going into Columbus and shocking 3 seed Ohio State, 83-73. Hannah Hidalgo she's awesome since the beginning of her career. 3-year starter, All-American, 26 points, 13 rebounds, 8 steals. Cambridge, 41 points, by the way, for the Buckeyes in the loss. A thriller in West Virginia, the 4 seed West Virginia Mountaineers, falling by 1 to Kentucky, the 5 seed, 74-73. Clara Strack, 18 points, 15 boards. She also had 4 blocks. And so the Wildcats go on to a rematch with number 1 seed Texas in Fort Worth in the regional semis. Some other winners, UCLA, the 1 seed, easy does it over Oklahoma State, 87-68. Lauren Betts, 35 points. That's a career high, 9 rebounds as well. UConn, they're UConn. They're at home, number 1 seed. They were leading 65-12 at half, not against some team who just started playing basketball last month, against 8 seed Oklahoma State. I'm sorry, 8 seed Syracuse. Look at the wrong list. 98-45. Syracuse falls to UConn. AZ Fudd, 34 points. So UConn now 36-0. After the game, Syracuse coach, she's got a point here. Felicia Leggett-Jack went off in her pressers saying, that she asking why her teams always have to come to stores every time they reach the NCAA tournament. She's taken the Orange to the dance twice, both trips. She went to UConn. Of course, the season ended from there. She went on to say when she was at Buffalo, their tourney dreams ended with a loss at UConn back in 2018. The committee says it's simply it's a proximity issue. They try to put teams close by for travel regions. And Jack just answered to say, look, we're willing to travel, get out of New England, put us on a plane. We're fine with that. Other winners, number 1 seed South Carolina, number 2 seed Vandy, and 3 seed Louisville, all getting wins. Hey, back to the NCAA men's tournament for a minute. Viewership now up 5%. Best start since 2011 when they that was year 1 of the CBS Turner venture, if you remember, averaging nearly 10 million viewers per day. And I know I'm among those. I watched every minute of action Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, I hadn't planned on it. Wasn't feeling well, but yeah, I saw it all. It was great stuff. The VCU game upsetting North Carolina, the biggest matchup viewer-wise in the first weekend, 12.5 viewers watching on that. Pretty cool. NBA headlines for you. Lakers 9-game win streak comes to an end. Career high 30 points for Jenkins as the Pistons beat the Lakers 113-110. By the way, Dennis Jenkins scored 6 of those points in the final 30 seconds. But again, Detroit getting this done with no Cade Cunningham. Luka Doncic with 32 points. The Lakers still the 3 seed in the West with 10 games to go. They're at Indiana tonight to finish off that 6-game trip that we talked about here yesterday. San Antonio getting the win at Miami, 136-111. Victor Wembanyama, dude, just sick. You kind of feel like SGA has a leg up, maybe an MVP, maybe not. I mean, Wemby is just having a tremendous season. 26 points, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks. It's his 10th game with 25 points and 5 blocks. The rest of the league combined has 10 games with 25 points and 5 blocks. Just insane. By the way, OKC, 12 straight wins out. They beat Philly 103. Make that 123-103. Okay, Matt Stevens talking Illini with the Illini guys. Up next.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Okay, NCAA Sweet 16, and one of the teams really impressive over the weekend was Illinois. Joining us now, Illini guys, staff writer Matt Stevens was in Greenville this last week. He will be in Houston this week to see this Illinois team that's quite an enigma. One of the teams that really a couple of weeks ago, a lot of teams kind of felt had a chance to win it all. Jay Billis actually picked them to come out of the South region, and now it looks like it's maybe a little more possible with all the things that happened. Let's go back to last week and a couple of games at Illinois for the first time ever, scoring back-to-back 20-point wins in their NCAA tournament history. They had never done that before. Talk about these 2 games that they played against Penn and VCU.
2 totally distinctly different games, I thought, Larry, but they ended up the same way. Well, how did that happen? Well, I thought on Thursday night, they did exactly what they've done all year and kind of showed the entire country what they've done all year, which is be one of the most efficient offensive teams in the country, and scored 105 points and did it with relative ease. And clearly Penn couldn't hang, and couldn't get enough stops to make this a basketball game. And quite frankly, leading up to it, I think Fran McCaffrey kind of knew that. I think he knew that Illinois, even to pull that upset, they were going to have to play a game in the 70s. They were going to have to play a game maybe even in the high 60s. And they didn't know what the chances are for that to happen, because if Illinois is what they are offensively, that's not the game they play, even though they're not really a run type of team. Saturday night, I thought it was funny, Larry. I wrote about this on IlliniGuys.com. Brad Underwood laid out on Wednesday afternoon before the tournament started what he saw out of his defense when they were elite, what he expected out of them, what he kind of saw could happen if they play at that level. And on Saturday night, he got to witness it, because I thought Illinois played a level of half-court defense that they haven't played all year or haven't played in months. And I thought one of the reasons that they were able to kind of do that was they They let Anthony Hill kind of do what he does, which is, high octane scoring, high usage scoring, and everybody else got shut down. And I thought everybody else did their job defensively. And that was the plan. And I thought Illinois did a really, really good job of not letting VCU get open looks from three, not letting them, and everything at the rim was contested. I think I wrote about it again. Like I said, VCU was I think less than 40% on layups and dunks.
Wow.
Everything was contested at the rim. And if you were going to go and try to get something in the paint, that was going to be a real, real big challenge for everybody at VCU, no matter whether you were a guard or you were a front court player. And that kind of set the tone for the entire game, was that even when VCU took a 29-28 lead early in that first half, their water got shut off completely at that point offensively, and Illinois was even able to kind of go on a run right before halftime and establish their dominance as they went into halftime. The defensive end of the floor is what's gotten them to the second weekend on that Saturday night, and I think that if Illinois is going to win two more games, they're going to have to show some level of like that on defense, like they haven't done in months.
I thought they communicated well. I thought they really they made adjustments, cut off, guys trying to go baseline it was a great communication within the team that you don't see a lot. Have not seen this Illinois team, to your point. And to your point, that's the kind of defense, like you said, they're going to have to play. They're a team that talks about being the tallest team in the country, but it doesn't seem they always use it. And yet another big knock on Illinois was the 4 overtime losses, all coming to teams with quick guards, or that found ways to beat them in other ways, and guys scoring a lot of points against them. Was that the big difference that you saw in this team and the team that really struggled at the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season?
Yeah, I think when you look at like the two Wisconsin guards, John Blackwell has had unbelievably career games against Illinois, and because Wisconsin has two quick guards that can really take you off the dribble and get in the paint and make things difficult, whether it's kicking out to somebody else or whether it's getting the ball to the rim. Illinois switched up on Saturday night the way that they guarded ball screens, and quite frankly, a little bit. And also I thought the intensity and the aggression that they guarded those ball screens from the front court players. This was not playing strictly drop coverage and kind of letting you come to me. They were going and getting the guy at the ball screen. You saw Tomislav Ivicic, the Ivicic twins. You saw David Mirkovic. Ben Humrickhouse had an excellent game on defense on Saturday night. All of those front court players showed more aggression on guarding those ball screens. And I think that guys like Kylan Boswell, and guys like Keaton Wagler, guys like Andrei Stojakovic, they get a lot of gruff for not being able to guard those quick guards. And Kylan Boswell has admitted that kind of a player does bother them. And I think the coaches saw that and kind of went, well, let's get the big guys out further and help them a little bit for a second or two, because we have the length to be able to get back and guard that ball screen. The way they guarded ball screens against VCU was one of the major reasons why VCU struggled so much on anything they wanted to go at with the rim, in the paint. And then they were 7 of, I think, 32, 34 from 3, because they would already have been kind of taken out of whack on this ball screen. And when Illinois plays drop coverage a lot, sometimes that opens up just for an open 3 because of the way that they've played that ball screen. That didn't happen on Saturday. If Illinois continues to guard ball screens the way they did on Saturday night, they're going to go. They have the potential to get to a Final Four. I haven't seen that from Illinois in months. It was a revelation. I thought both of Ivicic brothers on defense played their best games. David Mirkovic played his best game on defense. And then Tomislav Ivicic ate up the glass the way that I haven't seen him pretty much all season, as he's been dealing with a whole bunch of things injury-wise. So I think Illinois on the defensive end and on the glass just took a VCU team that bills itself as an energy team, as an effort team, and we're just going to play harder than you. And Illinois didn't allow any of those things to happen, and that's why they've got the opportunity to play Houston on Thursday night in Houston for a bid to the Elite Eight.
Yeah. I want to talk about that sequence, Zvonimir Ivicic blocking Djokovic's dunk attempt, and then sprinting down court to get the fast break dunk on the other end. I bet I've seen 12 different posts. It keeps popping up on all the different highlights of that. What was that like there in the arena? I set up at home, and my wife the same thing, watching that sequence. What was it like there in the arena? That bang bang play, 94 feet apart.
Well, it was fascinating because you think that Djokovic is going to get a dunk on the other end that could have been momentum changing for VCU. Yeah. Those are the kind of plays, just like they had done 2 nights ago against North Carolina during that 19-point comeback. They used those type of plays to get back into a basketball game. They use those as momentum builders, as just the ways to get our energy back and I'm telling you guys, if you may not believe this, but VCU has a real big, passionate fan base, and they have they were there in Greenville. They were there. Okay. And so they were ready for, Djokovic to throw down a one-handed dunk that would have changed the entire momentum of the game. I totally believe that. When Z made the block, I believe it was somebody's going to correct me, but Kylan Boswell then takes the ball down, and you don't think that Kylan's going to throw it to him because he never looked at Z the entire time, never really looked at him the entire time. And I'm watching Z kind of sprint like I've never seen him sprint from about the free throw line, the opposite free throw line all the way. And my thought, Larry, and I put this out on Twitter, is where is Djokovic? Because he had a jump on him. Like when he gets the dunk blocked, he can run. He jogged back, and we went, okay, now we've got a 4-on-3, and I think Kylan realized how hard Z was sprinting, and the fact of the matter is also like the athleticism of Z to be able to catch it, no dribble. I literally expected him to get called for a travel because he wasn't going to dribble. Clearly, once he caught it, you knew that, and took off. And it was a really, really impressive dunk. But I thought the block was just as impressive. I agree with Brad Underwood. I thought the block was just as impressive. And I thought it was the nail in the coffin thing because I again, like I told you, I feel like I was the only one in the arena that was looking at Djokovic and realizing that he was jogging back and realized we're done. Yeah. And I asked everybody who was on the floor, like for Illinois, about that play. And the one thing that I didn't forget was that Ben Humrickhouse, who might be the most honest person I've ever met in my life, literally said, I stood at half court because I wanted to watch it because I knew it was coming, and I stopped running and stood at half court because I wanted to get that view of it. And the coaches are going to give me gruff because I didn't keep running, but yeah, it was the momentum changing play. It's probably Illinois' one shining moment play in a couple of weeks, and it changed the whole dynamic of where this game was going to go, and if VCU was going to be able to get back into it, just like they had done 2 nights ago against North Carolina. And oh, by the way, it's the only bucket that Z got the entire night. So I mean, at the end of the day, he ended with 2 points. And I'm sitting here and I looked down at the box score and I'm like, wait a minute, he only had 2 points. Well, that was the one field goal he had, and I was like, okay, I guess if you're Z, if you're going to have one field goal and you're going to have 2 points, that would be the one to do it. And he tends to have the feeling of 3 years of college basketball where he kind of knows where the moments are in a 40-minute game. And he sure knew where it was before. It was a really, really impressive athletic feat. But again, I thought the block is what started the whole thing because it ended any night, any chance that Djokovic was going to have any kind of positive momentum about what he wanted to do against these front court guys from Illinois. And that's a guy that ended 0 for 6 from the field and with only 2 points. And Z ends and Z is on the other end out sprinting him because Djokovic put his head down and just kind of started half-heartedly jogging. It was the play that I thought just ended VCU's run, and it really propelled Illinois into the Sweet 16.
One of the clips that I saw on social media, he was actually Big Z actually was clapping at center court, clapping to get Boswell's attention, and Boswell's was deciding what to do with it. I think I saw some of your reporting, and then of course dishes it off, and it's a play that won't be forgotten anytime soon. Okay, so Houston comes up now, a 2 seed versus the 3 seeded Illinois team on the other side of the bracket. two teams Illinois has already beaten this year, and number 4 Nebraska, and 9th-ranked Iowa. First time this century they've been in the Sweet 16. Shocking win Sunday night over Florida, the defending champs. But what chances right now? It feels like this is a different defensive team against Houston than what Illinois had against them 4 years ago when they played them in the second round and lost. This feels a very much more competitive game. And the good thing for Illinois is you have a few games to prepare for them, a few days, not just 48 hours.
We know how this goes, Larry, but I really feel like this is the regional final. And I think a lot of people are going to treat it that way. With all due respect to Iowa and Nebraska, who have really, really good chances to win 2 games as well. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I think a lot of people around the country are going to look at this and think the winner of Illinois and Houston is going to be the winner of that region. This is the region. This is the de facto regional final. What I think you're right analytically about Houston defensively. Okay. But I do think they still have enough length and they have enough aggression and they have enough power, like they have enough power in their front court, and especially with their guards, that if they can get physical with Illinois is going to have to do the same thing that they did with VCU against higher level athletes at Houston, because Calvin Sampson has recruited higher level athletes at Houston to compete in that Big 12. They're going to have to match Houston's aggression. They're going to have to match Houston's intensity. They're going to have to match their physicality. And what you've seen in the Big 12, the minute that Houston walked in and Calvin Sampson walked into the Big 12, Larry, is that teams have not matched their physicality, quite frankly, either whether it's on the glass, whether it's even on the perimeter, where they will grab and clutch you and do all of those things and hand check you and do all of the things that they want to do to get you off your rhythm. And in the paint, it's just a war. It's an absolute war. David Merkovich, the Avicic twins, Ben Humrickhouse, Jake Davis, they all need to be prepared for an MMA style fight in the paint against Houston. That's the way that they play. That's why Calvin Sampson has won so many games, and that's why he was so close to a national title with Houston. I do feel like Illinois is going to have to match all of that again and at another higher level against VCU. But I also think that they're going to have to get some sort of offense from somebody who's not named Keaton Wagler. Because what we've seen out of Keaton Wagler is if you get physical with him and you physically like body up with him, he struggles with that. Initially, he does struggle with that. It takes him about a half to figure stuff out. What I'm telling you is we've now seen 2 games out of Keaton Wagler where we know Houston, he's going to be at the top of Houston's scouting report. He just has to be, right? Well, we've seen 2 games now, the 2 games in Greenville, where Keaton Wagler has took 20 minutes to kind of figure out how he's going to go about doing things offensively. I thought he was effective in everything else he did against Penn without the basketball. I thought he figured out how to do that maybe for the first time in a long time. VCU, he struggled again, and he wasn't very good. And in the second half, he was elite. Okay, I don't think Keaton Wagler can wait 20 minutes to become elite. I think he has to be elite right off the jump, and I think Houston's going to make him earn it. And I think if he can do those things and he can be the All-American that he's been selected to be, Illinois has an excellent chance. But if Illinois does not match the physicality of Houston and they don't get a special performance out of one of their guards, whether it's Keaton Wagler or whether it's Kylan Boswell or whether it's Andrei Stojakovic, they're going to be in trouble, because I just don't think that Illinois can kind of feel themselves out in the first 20 minutes against Houston. We saw that with, in the second round game that Houston played against Texas A&M. Because Bucky McMillan will play really, really solid, efficient offense, and he's known for that. Bucky ball is trademarked for a reason. They had 26 points in the first half against Houston, and they were out of it by halftime. There's a chance that could happen for Illinois, but if they match their physicality and Keaton Wagler is as special as we think that he is, then Illinois has a really, really good chance to win this basketball game.
Should be fun down there in Houston. By the way, we should explain that the University of Houston is not hosting this regional. They are not the host, which is why their basketball team can play. This is at the Rockets Arena there downtown, but there's some question. Why are they playing? And I thought you couldn't. Well, yeah, you're right. They're not the host.
3 months ago they were, and they did a really, really smart thing and went across the street and said, "Hey, Rice, you want to host this regional?" And they said yes. So when this all started, Houston was the host. Wow. And they did a really, really smart thing and went to one of their old Southwest Conference brethren and said, "Hey, Rice, you want to host this thing?" And so Rice is the host. But yeah, there will be a lot of red. But Larry, I'm telling you, based on what I saw in Greenville, especially after North Carolina got beat on Thursday night, there were a lot of orange on Saturday night in Greenville, South Carolina. I imagine there will be a lot of orange and blue in Houston, Texas at the Toyota Center. So I don't think Illinois will necessarily be playing a road game, but yeah, this is exactly what Houston wanted when they went to their friend Rice and said, "Hey, we got a deal for you." And I think Calvin Sampson's trying to get back to another Final Four by being able to play 2 games at home.
Interesting. Well, Houston's the early leader. They're the 2.5-point favorite going into this matchup. Matt, good to talk with you. Safe travels. Looking forward to your great recording, I should say, reporting on IlliniGuys.com. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, boss. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right, man. Matt Stevens joining us, staff writer for IlliniGuys.com. Busy man in Greenville, just home to, we've all been there, right? You got to change out suitcase, put some other stuff in, back to the airport again, and getting back down to do some great work. Illinois, Houston, the late game, 10 o'clock Eastern time is the tip. Thursday night, as it is Iowa, the upstart Hawkeyes against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Rubber game of that series. They each won and each home court during the season. That's game 1 there in Houston on Thursday. All right, more to come. Stay with us.
Are you tired of your website making your business look bad? Is your current web developer dropping the ball? Let's face it, if your website isn't making you money, it's broken. Let Neon Rain create a website that turns your visitors into customers. Neon Rain has worked with hundreds of businesses across North America, building custom websites and applications with modern designs that are easy to update and work well on mobile devices. They can do it for you too. What sets Neon Rain apart? They actually deliver on their promises. Call today for a free consultation. 303-957-3092. That's Neon Rain at 303-957-3092. Or visit them at neonrain.com.
Great story in this Tuesday. Coming up is Arkansas gets ready to take on top seed Arizona on Thursday, 9:45 Eastern tip. Darius Acuff Jr., the freshman who won SEC Player of the Year, becoming the first NCAA men's athlete to sign a signature shoe deal with a major U.S. brand while still in college. ESPN reporting that Acuff has signed with Reebok. Amazing. He is obviously headed to be a lottery pick here this summer, but pretty cool stuff there. Name, image, likeness. And he's the real deal right now. So is producer Tony. He's our real deal. The women's Sweet 16 is now set. Tony, a couple of matchups you said you're really looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I want to watch the TCU Virginia game only because Virginia's the underdog, that 10th seed that made it this far, and TCU plays such great defense. I'm really hoping that I want TCU to advance because I want to see TCU against probably South Carolina because they're the number 1 seed. I want to see how that defense works for them, as opposed to South Carolina's offensive game plan. So that's the first game. And then the second game, I really want to see is LSU and Duke. LSU has 2 outstanding players in Flo J. Johnson and Michaela Williams, while Duke is kind of the sum of the parts is greater than the individuals. They have 3 or 4 players. They share the ball. Fournier's kind of the star. But even she, if she takes the backseat, somebody steps up. So I'm interested to see, can that star mentality beat that team mentality? Not that I'm not saying LSU's not a team, but you know what I mean. It's that some of the parts are better than the individuals. So those 2 matchups should be quite interesting there in the women's Sweet 16.
Yeah, definitely want to see that. Another one, I feel bad for Minnesota, the 4 seed. What are the, we're going to talk with Doug Feinberg tomorrow about this whole thing of playing on the home court. Minnesota got to do that up at Williams Arena, the old barn up there, and now they get to take on UCLA, the team that blew through and beat everybody in the Big Ten this year, including the Golden Gophers. That's one of the other game there in that Region 2. The winner of that takes on the winner of LSU Duke. Another game I want to see is the Vanderbilt Notre Dame game. Watching that, Michaela Blake's just barely missed a triple-double in that win over Illinois in their second-round game there in Nashville. 25 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. To see her going against Hannah Hidalgo, 2 of the top wing players in the country.
Yeah, that should be another really interesting game. Hannah has really carried that Notre Dame team this year. They lost a lot of people. They lost some graduates. They lost some people in the portal. Kate Koval, who plays at LSU now, was with Notre Dame last year, so they lost a couple little bit there. but she has really carried that team. I think it's a lot to ask of her to get past this Vanderbilt team, which is such a good all-around team. Yeah, they do have the superstar. It should be another interesting matchup to watch.
Yeah, we talk about, again, not seeing those higher seeded teams get to the Elite Eight. Maybe Notre Dame, they beat the 30 seed Ohio State, see if they can take on Vanderbilt on Friday there in Fort Worth. Okay, our moment of awe is up next.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage is only $75 per month, level for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can buy $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rates for 20 years. And if you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At the Term Lifeline, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. So if you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call right now for a free quote.
Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes are based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting exam required to qualify.
Call 855-826-7932. 855-826-7932. That's 855-826-7932.
Okay, today's moment of awe goes back to 1990. It's been called the shot before the shot. 2 years before Christian Laettner would break Kentucky's heart, he sank UConn's hopes in the 1990 East Regional Final, trailing 78-77. Laettner got the ball on the left side, got to the elbow of the court, and drilled a 14-footer at the buzzer to send Duke to the Final Four and end one-seeded UConn's hopes for the national title. It was an awesome shot. It is our moment of awe. UConn fans, sorry I got to bring it up. It's March Madness. It happened. I know. Therapy sessions continue. I get it. Hey, thanks for joining us. A great show today. David Cobb from CBS Sports. We appreciate you. Matt Stevens, good to talk to you as well. Always great to have you along. Hey, the voice made it. We made it through. We'll try better tomorrow. You're on the Sports IQ. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.